Welcome to My Village Podcast. My name is Eli.
My name is Andy.
And this week, we went spooky. It is October, and Halloween is next week as well, so we figured, let's do something spooky, you know? Let's watch some
kooky
American Horror Story.
So I'm just gonna let
Disclaimer.
everybody know right now.
Disclaimer comes with this house.
Am an avid American Horror Story fan. I have watched every single season as it aired, and I think it's the only show for the past 9 years that I have actually, like, I tune in every single week when it's on and I watch it.
Yeah.
Like, I don't miss it at all, ever.
Yeah.
Like, I have canceled plans with my, like friends because I'm like, oh, no, girl, American Horror Story is on.
Yeah, but you cancel plans a lot.
No, I don't. Don't lie to me. Don't lie to the people.
Oh, I'm lying to the people. Don't you worry.
I know you are.
Ooh, I am a little bit loud. Let me turn myself down, audience. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be loud in your ear.
I was really peeking over there.
I really was. It was hitting red. So, I am completely opposite. I've seen like one or two random episodes of American Horror Story. I think I saw one episode that was like, years ago, something with a clown in a dungeon, and I watched like half of it and I got really bored because I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Fair.
But Andy convinced me, even though he had watched it, that I should watch the first episode of the first season and the last episode of the first season, because obviously I knew that they're different stories, so I wasn't gonna watch the last episode.
Yeah.
So that's The Murder House.
The Murder House, which is probably the best top 3 seasons of the 9 that are out there right now.
I did a polling with my friends because they all love this. Oh, I just realized that ruined our cameras. Hang on, let me grab this info real quick. Edit this. Where the fuck? Here it is. Okay, one person for this one person for Coven. 2 people for Murder House, 1 person for Coven. 2 people for Coven, 2 for Murder House. And that's all that I got. And then Trent just said that he stopped watching after 19XX. Okay. There we go. So, I went out of my way and I did a polling with my friends because they all love this show. 2 of them said Murder House was the best.
Okay.
2 of them said Coven is the best. And Trent's opinion is he stopped watching after 19XX. I assume that's a season.
I'm assuming he means the most current season, which was 1980 something.
I think so. I think he just didn't remember.
Was not the best.
Yeah. He stopped watching that because he said it wasn't good.
Yeah, what they did was they focused a lot on like that really classic, like cheesy, over like campy 80s horror. And so it was like definitely not a lot of people's cup of tea. I thought the story was good, but I didn't quite like the characters as much as I have in the previous seasons.
That's kind of what my friend said, is after a while it started changing format and not in a good way. But in terms of season 1, I know you like season 1 a lot, and I just watched the first episode last episode. Yeah. Really, really good. Honestly, one of my top favorites that we've watched so far on Lazy Watchers.
Yeah.
Because I'm really not a huge horror guy. You will not see me on the weekends watching horror. I literally spent the first 15 minutes of this recording before even starting the podcast, telling Andy about a comedy, a game show comedy on YouTube.
Yeah.
So I'm not a horror guy, and I was
Yeah.
really, really into this. And even though I know how it ends, I want to go back and watch season 1.
Oh, you need to. Like, first off, the creator, Ryan Murphy, is like either a genius or like a pure psychopath. Like, there's no in between. How do you go from writing a show like Glee to writing American Horror Story? He was writing American Horror Story at the same time that he was wrapping up Glee.
Which is insane to me because I've also never seen Glee.
Oh,
But
that's interesting.
it is interesting. Trent is pushing me to watch it with him. We have this man makes lists, and he's got a list of shows and movies. But I've seen some of it in and out. Looks like a decent show, but going from that to American Horror Story, how?
Yeah. How? Exactly. And just a quick side note on Glee, I will say a lot of the themes in Glee did not age gracefully. Like, it's a little inappropriate at times.
Oh,
now,
good.
Watching it in 2020, it would be offensive to people if it came out in 2020. But that's a whole other conversation for another day.
Well, some people get offended easily, so
exactly. So
toughen up your skull.
The acting, fantastic. It's actually the only season that Connie Britton is in. That's Vivian, the mom.
Okay.
Very upset because what Ryan Murphy does is he actually uses the majority of the same actors for every season. They just play different characters. And that right there tells you how fucking fantastic these actors are, because they're playing these characters and you don't even think about their previous characters in the previous shows.
Mm-hmm. It's a totally new personality and everything.
Yeah. It's fucking crazy.
That's really good.
Yeah, so you have Vivian Harmon, you have Violet, which I have some notes on Violet. She's fun. Let's see here. Dylan McDermott plays Ben Harmon. He's a well-known person. Evan Peters is Tate Langdon. Taysa Farmiga. I know I said that name wrong. I'm sorry, girl. That's Violet. And then we have Dennis O'Hare as Larry Harvey, who is a burn victim. And last but not fucking least is the queen actress of American Horror Story for the first 3 or 4 seasons, Jessica Lange.
I knew you were gonna say her, and I was looking at her profile to be sure I was thinking of the right person, because I saw her show up and I was like, oh fuck, this is about to be a really good series.
Yeah, oh my gosh, what an actress. I forgot how much I hate her in this first season, because she's such a nosy bitch. But then as you start learning her story, you're like, oh, I kind of understand why you're like this.
Yeah, I didn't learn her story.
You didn't yet, yeah.
I basically learned at the end that she's part of everything going on, so that's kind of what I got out of it. But she's an amazing actress. Sorry, and I've seen her in other stuff too. Every time I see her, I'm like, yes, she just made this production go up in value so much.
Definitely. Season 3, which is Coven, she ends up. It's her and then Angela Bassett, who's another really phenomenal actress. They Jessica Lange plays a witch, and Angela Bassett plays a voodoo queen.
Oh, okay.
And those two together have the best one-liners I've ever heard.
Yeah,
in television. They are fantastic. Let's just jump into this pilot episode. What were your thoughts? What did you think? We start off with those two redheaded babies walking into the house with Adelaide outside saying, "You're gonna die."
I mean, obviously I knew, with American Horror Story, these kids were gonna die. Her being there, so much creepier.
Yeah.
So much creepier. And then these kids fucking just destroying this beautiful ass house.
Girl.
I was like, no, all the nice things. I mean, it's haunted,
Absolutely.
but like such a nice house.
Such little shits.
I
Oh my
know.
god.
I
I
went to
was
beat
like,
them up myself. I was
but
like,
then like low key, like how fun would that be to actually just like smash a bunch of shit with a bat, like
oh,
break an old tube TV and like stuff like that.
when I have like money coming out my freaking butt, I'm gonna buy just a house or some sort of building that like clearly was foreclosed on and just go ape shit on it.
Just sledgehammer through the wall.
Why not,
Um,
right?
absolutely. So you go from like murder to uh, Vivian Harmon is walking through her house and she hears somebody upstairs. She
Mm-hmm.
immediately grabs a knife. Now, this is where things get questionable. So she goes upstairs. She
Yeah,
opens the bedroom door. She sees her husband cheating on her. They don't
with a
show
21
anything,
year old.
but she drops the knife at that point, and that's where she's kind of got me fucked up because I feel like somebody's getting cut in this situation, whether it's my cheating husband or the hoe that he's cheating on.
She
me
didn't
with.
drop the knife.
Yeah, she did. She
No,
dropped it.
no, she cut him.
Then there's an error because in the pilot episode, she drops the knife. You hear the metal hitting the ground unless she picks it back up.
There's definitely an error because at the end, he reaches out and grabs her and she turns around and cuts him. There's a clear cut mark with the knife.
There's an error then. I'm going to go back and verify that. There is definitely an error because I heard the knife drop. And the reason I did it is because I had it playing on my iPad
Uh-huh.
while I was playing Call of Duty. So I had both headphones in because I've already seen the show. So I'm like, I just need to watch it to get like the plot again.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard her on the phone. You hear the door open and then like metal clanging because she drops the knife. And then that's it. Yeah, then she cuts
Unless she like put it on the balcony, like that railing that's there.
Maybe she
on the
sets it
stairs.
down.
I
But
think
it
that's
sounded
what
like dropping metal.
she didn't drop it. She
I'm
did
gonna
not drop
verify
it
that.
because she literally did cut him when she did like a cool like spin move thing.
Okay. Well,
And
good.
she
Then
cut his arm.
I
Not
thought
like
she dropped
hugely,
it.
but like enough where it was
No,
bleeding.
yeah. No, you got to let him know. Like, I am crazy enough to kill you. Just to let you know. See this? I'm drawing blood. So try me again, bitch.
Right.
That's what needs to be said.
Yeah, no, she definitely cut him. And then that's what it cut out on.
I'm a crazy person, and I would just like to like let people know that I actually probably never would cut somebody, but like I get it.
No,
I get how somebody can do that.
I would do that. I would cut them emotionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Probably the same.
Yeah.
After I'm done crying, because I am an emotional person,
Yes, you are.
I will probably cut you down with some.
See, that's
some
the thing.
words.
I work in opposite. I cut them first and then go home and cry.
Oh, yeah. See, I have to process the emotion before I can meticulate my words.
No, I'm like the opposite. I go into instant rage mode.
Rage. Okay. And then they go to LA. And like the only reason I'm pointing this out is because why does nobody listen to animals in these kind of situations? They walk into that house and that dog starts letting them know like fuck this, we should not be here.
Because people don't respect dogs as much.
And they're like, "Shut up, Tilly, you silly." I don't know the dog's name.
So like I think it was like Millie or something. So are you saying in a situation where, let's say you're moving to a new house, it's a beautiful, lovely house, it's like house of your dreams, and it's like a third of the cost of all the other houses around it, for whatever reason, well, it comes out disclosure, people died in it, you're saying if Chester barked, you're out of there, 100%.
Well, okay, but see, like for me too, like I'm very in tune with like energies, so I probably would have known something was up before I like.
That's what you
Picked up
think.
the house.
That's what you think. That's what you think.
I would. No, I would. I would know. I would definitely know beforehand.
Maybe.
Because I listen to my gut. I don't.
Yeah, but
make a decision based off that. I know.
okay,
I know.
we'll see.
But also, we'll see. What are you talking about?
Hey, I found this beautiful house for you. It's also hashtag haunted.
Right. I also would just like look at the house if it was haunted and be like, "No, it's not for me. Not my good Christian home.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
not my
Oh,
good Christian home.
yeah.
I'm
You put
not
the
that."
cross next to the gay flag, or
Yeah,
okay.
I have crucifixes all over this house.
I know you
Girl.
do. I feel like that's not for your
Rebuke it in the name of
Christianity. I
Jesus.
feel like it's for your keeping the demons
Rebuke
out.
it in the name of Jesus. I was upstairs in the bedroom when we first moved in, and I heard somebody say Andy, like whispered it like clear as day in my ear. And Kyle was asleep in the other room, and I said, "Not my good Christian home. You get out in the name of Jesus."
And then you bought 20 crucifixes and put them around the house.
And I bought crosses
and did sage and
crystals and sage, and I was like, I don't know what. We're just gonna try everything, see what works. Because first off, that's not my Christian name, Spirit. You said my nickname.
He knows you like that.
If you were an agent of the Lord, you would say my Christian name.
Like I did when I joined the call. Anderson Cooper.
Oh Jesus. That girl in the high school, what a bitch. That fucking
Honestly, fuck you. Well, you know what I mean?
when her face got all clawed, like mauled by that monster, I was like, she deserves it.
Yeah, I mean it was literally traumatizing, but
Oh, absolutely. But also, like, you tried to make Violet eat a cigarette because she like put it out on the ground. That's disgusting.
yeah.
Gross.
Yeah.
I forgot about a lot of like the minor characters in this
Yeah,
show.
like the side stories and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, this is fantastic.
That was wild. I saw her and I was like, man, I would have just clocked her, honestly.
Truly. There would be fighting in this here courtyard.
Yeah.
I also wrote down Violet doesn't know
was.
how to smoke.
No.
She was smoking that cigarette. I was like, you're not doing it right.
I mean, she was
Judging
like
you.
a child.
First off, the way the smoke was just like going in and out of her nostrils is like, that's a sinus infection right there.
Yeah.
For starters.
For
you're
starters.
You're like keeping the smoke in your face region, and it's like you want to blow it away from your face.
Yeah, that's very much like vape vibes.
Yeah.
Like
definitely.
when I vaped, like that was the whole name of the game.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you do cool shit with it. When you're smoking a cigarette, you fucking get that shit away from you. When you get the nicotine and you blow out the smoke.
Expel it from your body. Definitely.
Yeah.
Wild.
Wild. But
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say like the everything setting up to it. So like the twins and all that, and then getting brutally murdered. Wild. That scared me genuinely.
Genuinely.
I'm serious. Like I'm not a horror guy, so watching this shit is like a lot for me.
This one is probably one of the more scary ones.
Yeah, and then all the shit with like I knew something was up with the maid. The moment that it was the old maid to a Vivian, but then it immediately was this, sexualized young, 21-year-old.
No, that took everybody by storm back in 2011. We were like, oh no.
Yeah, that was like a
witchcraft.
Lot. Yeah, that was like a lot. I was like, yo, this house is fucking hot. Like, and also this kind of made me mad. I was like, he was like, you sure? And she was like, yeah, for sure. I'm sitting here thinking like, why don't you just ask? Like, why is she kooky? And then she would have been like, well, she's old. And he would have been like, no.
Yeah. No. You and I are on the same vibe because I feel like I'd be like, you want to hire this like hyper-sexualized maid to be in our house. And she'd be like, what do you mean? She's an old lady. And be like, what do you mean? She's like this hoe over here with like a skirt up to her vagina. Like, what are you talking about?
And feeling herself and wanting to get all up on me.
Seriously. Because, first off, you cheated, sir. So you should be the one who's bringing up these questions. Be like, well, okay, I'm going to be honest with you. We're trying to, like, patch things over. Like, I think it's inappropriate that we hire the smoking hot maid. And she's like...
And she immediately would have been like, whoa, she like 80, bro.
Yeah. Or she would have been like, "You're disgusting," and like ended the conversation. But
I'm just
that
saying
whole
that made me a little bit angry, but
yeah,
I got
the
over it.
whole dynamic between Ben and Vivian is just like out of my mind crazy. Because so here's this man that cheated with you. I get like the whole like trying to work through things like if somebody cheats or whatever. But when he's like, "Come on, babe, you won't have sex with me. It's been months."
It's been a
And he's
year.
like, "It's been a year, yeah." And he's like, and she's like, "No, like I don't want to." And he's like, "Well, are you mad at me?" "Yes, I'm mad at you. You cheated on me." She said, "I walked in on you pile driving your student." I wrote that down because that was hilarious to me.
And
Pile
then you
driving your
watch
student.
you watch the final episode, and he's talking about how he can have his office at the house and all this other stuff, and I'm sitting here like, that doesn't help your case, bud. That was the whole issue before.
Truly. Truly. You think I'm going to leave you in this house alone?
Yeah, with
No.
your students, like, hello?
So he is a psychiatrist or
Yes.
so yeah.
He's a psychiatrist. He tries to basically do therapy, which later is found out he doesn't believe in. But he is a
Truly.
psychiatrist.
True.
And is trying to help
Yeah.
Tate.
Tate, who you gotta watch the show for Tate's storyline alone. That shit was haunting. Tate's a real he is a psychopath, as Ben calls him in the end.
Mm-hmm.
He is not well up here, and
I
it's very
mean,
obvious with his storyline.
you could see that in the first episode and the last episode that he's a psychopath.
Yeah.
And then obviously Ben tries to report that, but shocker, Tate's been dead a long time.
Yes, he has.
Long time.
Yeah. I don't really have much to say about the first episode beyond what we've talked about so far.
Yeah, no, let's talk about the last episode. I mean, wild. If you're this far in, there are spoilers, but it came out in 2011, so that's on you.
Truly. Oh, I did write Jessica Lange fuck the world iconic, but like we already talked about her greatness earlier.
True, she's amazing. I love her.
Okay. Let's give our first rating of the episode, shall we?
Opening credits.
Yes.
Opening credits. I gave it a 9.
Okay.
I didn't give it a full 10 because I just was very confused about so many babies.
So, I gave it a 10 because I think all of the opening credits that they do for American Horror Story are wildly creative, and if you pay attention to them, they have certain specific nods to
like
the
Easter
storyline.
Yeah.
So like as you're watching it, you're like, as the plot is like unfolding, you're like watching it, the opening thing, you're like, oh, that is there because of this, and that's there because of this, and by the end of it, it all just makes sense.
Yeah, and I think I didn't appreciate that because I haven't watched the full series, obviously. So
yeah,
that's why I gave it a 9.
And the music is like creepy.
I do
like
the music.
It doesn't sound nice to your ears. Does that make sense? But that's kind of why I like it, because it's so like shocking that it like immediately takes you into this horror story.
Oh, for sure. Like,
yeah,
I think if I had watched the whole series, I would have gave it a full 10. I think just because I was lost for most of it, that I just had to give it a 9 out of fairness to just not knowing what's going on or why it pertains to anything. Because the only thing that I really recall is the music was really good cinematics on it, and a lot of babies.
A lot of babies. There's a lot of baby shenanigans going on in this show, as you saw from the first and last episode. From miscarriages to
baby
mysterious
stolen
births. Do you want me to I don't know if I should tell you. Do you want a little bit of a spoiler?
Sure.
So, the very first crossover that they've ever done between and the storylines in American Horror Story was a cross between Murder House and Coven.
Okay.
And that weird little demon child gave us Apocalypse, which is season 6 or 7, I think. And the baby that you saw in the last episode with the murder is actually the Antichrist.
Oh.
And so he brings on the destruction of the world, essentially. So, and that's when shit really got crazy, was because you had Jessica Lange, or not Jessica Lange, God, what is her name? Sarah Paulson, who is in season 1. You won't see her for a couple episodes. She plays a psychic. Her name's Billie Dean Howard.
Okay.
She plays Sarah Paulson plays 3 different characters in a single show.
Holy shit.
So she plays her psychic medium from the first season. She plays Cordelia Good, who is the leader of the Coven, the Grand Supreme, and then she plays Miss Venable, who is like her character in Apocalypse. But every single time she's on the screen, you don't think about the other characters, and that's fucking crazy to me.
Yeah, that's insane. That's insane.
So wild. The acting is out of this world. But yeah, so episode 12, last episode.
Yep.
We see Ben is made to look like he's committed suicide in the house. Graphic.
He clearly did not.
Yes.
And very graphic.
Yes. The person behind it. So the girl on the stairs. Her name's Hayden. That is the student he was pile driving.
How did she get
in
to the
his
house?
wife's bed? So she comes out. In case you haven't figured it out thus far, if you die at that house, your spirit gets trapped there. It's like cursed land, and essentially it's like because people die and then like their remains are like kept or whatever on the grounds. That's why people are like trapped there. So Hayden comes in, and her storyline kind of takes off. She ends up in LA and ends up getting murdered at the house. I'm just gonna get that. That's like a really basic overview. I want you to watch it, so I don't want to give away too much.
Yeah.
But that's why she's there now. And then the other 2 were people that I believe had died back in like the 80s or 90s at the house. And she had just kind of like rallied them up to be like her gang or whatever, her henchmen, if you will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's who killed Ben. And it's because everybody wants this child, because everybody realizes that this child is special. But we don't find out for 6 seasons necessarily why he is so special.
Yeah.
They definitely talk about it in the show that he is possibly the Antichrist and like all this other stuff. Like she craves like raw meat when she's pregnant. Like there's one point. Did you see like the claws on her stomach in the last episode when they were showing her pregnant? No.
Nope.
There was, she was pregnant, sitting in a chair.
I think that was like the recap, and I missed it.
Probably.
There's a lot happening in that recap.
Claws like coming out of her, like the inside of her stomach, like scratching her stomach. So that kind of like they definitely kind of lean into that towards the end of the season. But we just kind of thought we were done with that story, because that's what American Horror Story does, is they kind of wrap it up.
Yeah.
At the end of every season.
And the wrap up was actually really nice, seeing the family come together and basically work on making sure no one else was there to die there.
Yeah.
And like enjoying the house as if they were living in it.
Yeah. So, which then I had questions about that too, because then I was like, why is there still electricity at this house? Like typically if a house is vacant for so long, like they cut the power off.
Probably because the realtor is still trying to sell it.
Maybe. But even like
or it turns into a museum of some sorts.
Um,
Because remember, like at the end, there's that like tour bus that basically was going around. So
mhm.
like my thought would be like those tour companies would have come in at some point, bought that for uh whatever, and only done like
Mhm.
showings during the day when they believed it was safe.
Do you want me to tell? I know from season 6 what happens to the house. Do you want me to tell you or no?
Nope.
Okay. Okay.
That's my guess.
Okay.
Audience, if you want to tell me in the comments of the YouTube video or uh tweeting at us, Instagram, whatever, I would
Yep.
love to read it that way. But I just want to throw my guess out there and leave it at that. I don't
Okay.
I don't want people that don't know what happened. Maybe they haven't seen season 6
True.
to get those
True.
spoilers
You're
as
right.
well if they don't
You're
want
right.
that.
You're right.
Since we already got the demon child. So
You got Antichrist.
you got
Which, if you didn't
Antichrist.
figure that out by the end of that season, girl.
If you watch the whole season, yes. I just didn't figure it out because I watched first and last.
Mm-hmm.
But that brings
Yeah.
me to the plot rating.
Yes.
I gave
what
that
did you-
a solid 10.
Same.
Solid 10. Honestly, because of the fact that, like, it went from them being in this house, we see, like, all these different characters and things like that. We don't really know that anyone's dead, but we know shit's going on with the maid 100% because of the fact of
100.
her trickery, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's obvious. That's very,
Yeah.
very obvious. And we kind of know also with Tate that some fucking demon shit's happening
Yeah.
because of how like everything that happened when they were giving that one annoying chick like coke in the basement. Yeah. So that was really good. That like honestly like super intrigued me. And then obviously you look at the last episode and you see that like okay, really everyone's dead. They're all ghosts that can choose to come in and out of reality at any point that they want to.
One of the most
And-
awkward scenes in that last episode is when the ghosts were all having that conversation while that new couple was like banging on the kitchen counter.
Yeah, that
I
was
like,
weird.
this is really awkward.
I was honestly thinking about how that was filmed and how awkward that must have been.
Right? So
Like,
weird.
They're getting it on. They're also filming Ben and V watching, and then they also have all of the camera crew and like film crew and all that.
Well, that and then Moira steps in at one point and the maid. It was very awkward.
Yeah, not Moira Rose. When we found out her name, I was like, oh no, Moira Rose.
Oh no. Well, it's funny because like when watching Schitt's Creek, I heard that name Moira, and I was like, there is another character from a TV show that I like named Moira. And it didn't click until we watched this. It was like, oh shit, it's the creepy maid from American Horror Story.
Right.
Oh, fantastic.
So yeah, solid 10 there.
Original. I think this storyline and the plot for Murder House is just very original. It's shocking. It's fun. It's scary. Suspenseful. Like it just like checks all of the boxes. Like
yeah,
and it just gets better, and like that suspense and like everything just builds up with every episode because they really weave this really intricate storyline for you the entire time.
Definitely. The acting, I gave a 9.
Okay.
I feel like it could have pushed for a solid 10. I think that just more comes with watching the entirety of the show.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff just like I think more pilot-based episode seemed a little forced, but like very, very subtle. Like honestly, I was on the edge of giving it a solid 10, and I think if I had watched through the entire season, it would have gotten a 10.
Definitely. 10 as well. 10 for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like
I think
gave
they're
it
all
all
great.
10s. Yeah. Cast, full 10.
Same.
I mean, love Jessica Lange. Evan Peters as Tate. That was really good. I haven't watched a lot of Evan Peters stuff, but he did really, really good in that for sure. And just like the general cast that they chose, it was pretty good. Like it was, I mean, Emma Roberts, you got Dylan McDermott, you got a lot of good actors for sure. And
Definitely.
I like that it did open up with like showing a bunch of different like personalities and like, you know, people of like that, you know, like just different stuff, you know, stuff that
Yeah.
like other shows are scared to do because they're, you know, they'll do it wrong and get all
Yeah.
like critical feedback and whatnot. So I'm glad that they were able to like explore those different avenues, especially in a pilot. So
Yeah.
that was really
Definitely.
good. And so I like the cast a lot. Yeah, finally cliffhangers.
Cliffhangers.
Gave it a 9.
Okay.
Obviously because
It would have slid to a
season
10 if you had watched more.
again, yeah.
Yeah.
Sees like the last episode, obviously like I know how this series works. I know that after a season it kind of ends that story per se, unless
Yeah.
they choose to bring it back up, but more than likely not gonna happen other than the crossover like you said in season like 6 or 7 or whatever.
Which
But
Ryan Murphy has said that all of the seasons are connected. Which we're just trying to figure out how at this point because it spans across like generations of lifetimes. Like it's pretty crazy.
yeah. So, and I think cliffhanger in the first episode was really good, but yeah, I mean, it just comes with like watching it to know like for sure, because like
Definitely.
it was a good cliffhanger, but does that continue in the second episode? Does it not? And then obviously there's not much to work on when you're watching essentially the last episode of a series, because they're
True.
not prepping for season 2; they're doing a completely new story.
Definitely.
In a sense.
Yeah,
So,
with this show, with this show specifically, yeah, they
yeah,
typically are geared up for the next season.
yeah. So that brings me to a 47 out of 50, 95%.
Yep.
Yeah, big plus for me. Andy gave it all 10, so 100% for him.
Yeah, it's 10s across the board for me. If you like horror, if you don't like horror, give it a try.
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I don't watch horror. I watch fucking rom-coms and like whatever else, like everything else but horror, and it got me into it.
Yeah,
I'm gonna turn into one of those AHS people and start promoting American Horror Story. So
definitely do it. And I will leave you with this. The second season is your typical sophomore slump with anything. It kind of tackles too much for one season. Like it goes from like aliens to demonic possession to like lab created monsters to like
yeah, well, like I said, close to the beginning,
too much.
The favorites, at least among my friends, is season 1 and Coven, which I think is season 3.
Yeah.
So watch it how you want to watch it, but if you watch a series, at least watch it from 1 to finish. Don't watch it in the middle because you'll get confused like I did.
Definitely. There's so much that happens.
Highly, highly recommend giving it full stars.
Yeah,
at least from 100%. MVP lazy watchers, full stars on American Horror Story.
These lazy lads say we recommend this shit.
Yep. That was something.
That was something. You're welcome.
Yeah. Anyways, this has been My Village Podcast, Lazy Watchers segment. I'm Eli. You can follow me at Sticky Toaster, STICKITOASTER. Don't know why I did that, but I did that. Follow me on all social medias, Twitter, Instagram, Twitch, all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My name is Andy, and you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at MVP Andy.
And be sure to follow the show at My Village Pod on Twitter, My Village Podcast on Instagram. Also on your favorite podcast streaming services. If we're not on your streaming service, let us know. Let us get on that. Also, subscribe to the YouTube. High quality videos from here on out. Promise. And we will see you guys next time. And happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Bye.
Bye-bye.